Hello and welcome to State of the Economy. Today we will discuss with Mr. N C Saxena, member of the National Advisory Council, the real impact of all the big ideas on inclusion or inclusive growth that the UPA government had introduced in the last 5 years, and generally take stock of how much these ideas have been either implemented on the ground or in the process of being implemented on the ground. Mr. N C Saxena is the right man to talk about this because as a member of National Advisory Council headed by Congress President Sonia Gandhi, many of these ideas have been discussed, threadbare and implemented by the government over the last few years. Welcome to our show, Mr. N C Saxena. Now, can you just give me an idea of really what are the big inclusive growth measures that have been taken up by this government since we are nearing the end of the term and we have general elections coming up in 4-5 months, which really UPA can talk about?
Well, looking at the positive side first. Number one, poverty has declined rapidly in the last 5 years. Number two, backward states such as Odisha, Bihar, Rajasthan, they have done quite well, with the result that interstate inequality has certainly not increased. Number three, we have rights-based development model, which is stabilized now, and we have added to that now food security as a right, which of course would be quite radical because it will cover about 70%, more than 70% of the population. In addition, I think we have also done quite well in agriculture and in health. In agriculture, in the last 5 years, growth has been more than 3%. And in health, you see that in the last 5 years, decline in maternal mortality rate and as well as in IMR has been quite rapid as compared to previous decade.
Okay, so you regard some of these things that you spoke about as success stories, right?
Yeah.
But I have spoken to you before, and you have expressed some dissatisfaction with the manner in which this government is going about identifying the beneficiaries for some of the welfare programs. For instance, even for the food security bill for implementation of food security, you have been saying that they have not identified the people to whom.
No, let's also look at the negative side first.
Yeah.
Negative side, I think, is that job growth has been very slow. In fact, the general impression is that a large number of jobs are being created in construction, in software industries, etc., etc. But when you look at the overall figures, you find that men are getting jobs at the cost of women. And the number of women in the age group 15 to 59 who are in the job market, that has been declining very fast from 34% to 25% now, which is very, which shows that women are getting more dependent on men. That's number one. And then what has happened is that although in some states governance has certainly improved, whether it is Odisha, Bihar or Gujarat, but there are still lagging states like UP, Jharkhand and West Bengal, where you find that the implementation of programs is very poor. Then there are problems at the design level itself. For instance, the whole idea of identifying the poor for the Food Security Act is highly flawed, with the result that a lot of delay is taking place.
And this process, tell me, how far is it complete?
Today, it has been, first round has been done, but the results which have come out are so incorrect that the states are feeling very jittery and they are not declaring the results. And they have, many states have referred it back to the people who were doing survey. So therefore,
you saying the states are not satisfied with the outcome of the surveys?
That's right, that's right. So therefore, in many states now you find, although this survey had started sometime in 2012 and it was they had said that they will complete it by June 2013, but I don't think it will be complete even by June 2014. So, which will mean that the implementation of Food Security Act
will only be done by the next government.
by, of course, nothing can be done before June 2014.
So in a sense, you're saying that the UPA cannot really take satisfaction from the fact that they would be able to implement the scheme before the elections.
That's right.
That
And
satisfaction they may not
also, you know, our tax collection has been very poor. Now, in the period 2004 to 2009, when growth was quite good and tax collection also improved, there was this feeling that Government of India has a lot of money to give to the states. But now what has happened is, overall tax collection being very, very low, it's only 15%, counting both states
But
and
isn't
center.
15% a good growth rate?
15% of tax collection, it is 30% in Brazil, it is 35% in Russia.
You're talking about the growth rate, yeah.
I'm not talking of growth, I'm talking of the
As a ratio of
tax
GDP,
as a
sorry.
ratio of GDP. It is 45% in Sweden. Even in countries like Ghana, which are poorer than India, it is 22%. It is 18% in Kenya. So therefore, if we are not collecting our taxes and growth rate is also falling, so the amount of money which is available for development is getting reduced. Also, you find that today in March 2014, there is going to be huge cut in the BE figures. So the budgeted figures may be anything, but there would be a slash of about 1 lakh crores on development programs.
So you're generally what you're saying is that the impact of growth tapering to much lower levels of 5% will be felt now in the in the year ahead.
That's right.
In terms of lower tax
Also,
revenues, and therefore many of these schemes, government may not have enough money to
That's
push
right.
many of these schemes.
For instance, government was quite keen to announce urban health mission, but that could not be done because we have no money. On health, our expenditure, as everyone knows, is just about 1.2% of GDP, as opposed to 3%, which is the norm. On education, it is 3%, as opposed to 6%, which is the norm. The other thing which can be criticized is that of the total money that we spend on social development, you can divide it in two categories. Number one, where returns would be gradual and delayed, education, nutrition, health, and number two, safety net programs where returns are immediate, Narega, subsidized food, etc. Now, the balance between these two is tilted in India in favor of safety net programs.
Oh, so this needs to be corrected.
So therefore, this needs to be corrected.
We'll come back to this, but after a small break, please don't go away and stay with us. Welcome back to State of the Economy. We are having a discussion with Mr. N C Saxena, member of the National Advisory Council, on the big ideas around inclusive growth that the UPA government is trying to implement, has been trying to implement for the last 5 years, and taking a stock of where these ideas are going. Mr. Saxena, you very interestingly pointed out the large expenditure that the government has committed to many of these welfare schemes, and some of them are in the nature of immediate transfer to the poor, and some are aimed at improving social indicators, as in health, education, etc., which takes some time. And you're saying that the balance between the two is a bit skewed in favor of immediate transfers to attack poverty, right? Now, how do you correct this balance? I mean, what's your sense? What is the new government, whichever government comes in after June 2014, what can they do to correct this balance?
The balance can be corrected when the implementation of programs in education, health, nutrition and such schemes improves. For that, you have to have a very good system of outcome measurement. Once you start measuring outcomes, and which will put pressure on the states to improve programs, then only there would be benefits accruing from expenditure on these programs. Today, Government of India feels, both for political reasons and for the with the view that people should benefit immediately, they feel if they transfer money directly to the poor, it would be much better rather than spending on education or health, etc.
You have been talking about this. In fact, you quoted a figure the other day that a total of 6 lakh crore, 6.5 lakh crore rupees get transferred to the states from the center. And if you just divide this money among the poor, designated poor, below poverty line, then it would work out to 300 rupees per person per day, that kind of transfer.
That's right. You know, there are three kinds of transfers from center to the states. Finance Commission, which accounts for about 3.5 lakh crores, and then Planning Commission transfers and centrally sponsored programs, which are through the ministries. Roughly, it is about 54-55% through the Finance Commission, and plan transfers are about 45%. Now, if you make the total, of course, Finance Commission transfers are mandatory. They are given in the Constitution. The states have a right to that. We cannot say that Government of India is being kind to the states by making that transfer.
So you keep the tax transfer aside.
So therefore, Finance Commission transfers aside, that will leave us about 3 lakh crores.
So that means 3 lakh crores are transferred on the plan side.
On the plan side.
This includes all the NREGA centrally sponsored.
That's right. It does not include subsidies. It does not include, say, subsidies on food or on fertilizers, etc.
And if you add that?
If you add that, it may be anything around 5 lakh crores. So therefore, it's a lot of money.
So effectively 5 lakh crore today can be really sort of given to the poor on a more direct cash transfer basis.
In fact, it won't be. I am not advocating that it should be given directly to the poor, because after all, you have to have schools, you have to have hospitals. You cannot leave it to the private sector.
So these are investments which the poor cannot do.
These are the investments which are being done even in the most privatized countries like USA. All schools are being run by government. So therefore, I am not suggesting that. I am only trying to say that there is a lot of money, despite the fact that our tax collection is poor, and if this money is properly utilized, then there could be a lot more reduction in poverty, lot more inclusive growth.
And you were saying that, if I am not mistaken, you were suggesting that 6.5 lakh crore is transferred today by the center to the states on both through taxes and through the plan process. And this figure 5 years ago used to be just about 2.5 lakh crore?
That's right. It has been rising for two reasons. Number one, because
there's a threefold increase.
That's right. It's about 2.5 times increase in the last 5 years, because Finance Commission's devolution, the percentage of funds to be transferred to the states has increased. So they have increased it from 28% to 33%. So that is one big reason. Plus, our tax collection has been quite good. Plus, we started a large number of programs, because of which centrally sponsored programs has been increasing. If you look at the figure of GBS, which is the gross budgetary support, which is the money which Finance Ministry makes available to the Planning Commission every year for funding state plans and ministry. This figure, when I was Secretary Planning Commission, used to be about 70,000 crores. And now this is about 2.5 lakh crores. So an increase of about 4 times in the last 10 years has taken place in the size of the GBS.
So Mr. Saxena, so what do you think should be done to restructure this whole expenditure framework to get a much better outcome? Are you satisfied with the outcome today? No.
Well, of course not. Outcomes are very poor. If you look at education, the recent report released by ASAR, Pratham, shows that the number of children in class 5th who could read class 2 textbook has fallen from 30% to 20%. So rather than improving the quality, you find that quality is going down because of lack of supervision, lack of accountability. The staff is not bothered about doing their jobs. And another evaluation of health of the primary health centers and community health centers by the Planning Commission showed that in these centers, roughly 50 to 60% staff is absent. They are not present there.
So what you're suggesting is that in the last 5 years, we had a huge increase in tax revenues, as you said, 2.5 times, and we had a lot of money in our hands, but somehow we've not been able to utilize this money properly. So in that sense, are you also suggesting that some of the big ideas around inclusion, they are not, they have not worked properly?
They have the targets for outcomes, whether it is in health or education or in poverty reduction or in reduction in inequality. They have certainly not been achieved to the extent desirable. That is primarily because of either the design of the program which Government of India has started is flawed, or because its delivery by the state governments is not being properly supervised.
But you said 140 million people have been brought out of above the poverty line or out of poverty in the last 7-8 years. So, is that a should one be satisfied with that, or it could have been much more?
Well,
according to you?
poverty has certainly declined, but poverty line is so low in India. I call it Kutta Billi line, because only dogs and cats can live below at 32 rupees a day. But even then, whatever poverty line you take, the number has certainly declined. But let's not forget that around only about 5 to 6% people in India are paying taxes, direct taxes, which shows that the general level of people's incomes and expenditure is very, very poor. And therefore, one cannot be totally satisfied with this drop in poverty unless you also improve their skills, unless you also improve their capacity to earn more, which is not happening.
Sure. At this point, we'll take a small break. Please don't go away and keep watching RSTV. Welcome back to State of the Economy. We are having a conversation with Mr. N C Saxena, member of the National Advisory Council, on the UPA's inclusive growth ideas and how much have they worked. Mr. Saxena, you said that a lot of people have indeed been brought above the poverty line, but you also at the same time suggested that a lot more could have been done, right? So, now tell me, this government also tried to bring better governance through various measures like UID, targeting the poor, this whole socio-economic and caste survey is also trying to target the poor, really sort of, for various welfare schemes, trying to deliver schemes to a larger number of people, etc. Now, by all account, this process remains unfinished. As you said, many of these surveys will not be completed even before the general election. So, the new government will have to take it forward, right?
Well, socio-economic caste census design of that program is highly flawed, and for which Government of India is primarily responsible, because it was designed by the center.
Why is it flawed?
I will tell you why it is flawed. It is based on the census model. In census, when a person comes to me and asks me, "Are you graduate?" I say yes, because I have no vested interest in telling a lie. But if I know that this person is coming to me and my answers will determine whether I am poor or not. If he asks me, are you graduate? No, sir, I am only 5th pass. Do you live in a 2-bedroom house? No, sir, I sleep on the road. Or the surveyor would say, Mr. Saxena, give me 1,000 rupees, I will say that you are very poor. So that is why the results of the whole survey are very flawed. What they should have done was, they should have done it in open inquiry. They would involve the panchayats. Whatever are the results, let the Gram Sabha decide who are poor, who are not poor. Now, you are doing it in a very
top-down
secret and top-down manner, with no involvement of the people, with the result that the outcomes, that's why they are not being declared. There are also many other programs of Government of India which are flawed. Look at NREGA. Now, when you look at NREGA's interstate performance, you find jobs are being created in Tamil Nadu, in Kerala, in Himachal Pradesh, in Jammu and Kashmir. These are states where jobs are not required. Some of these states are also labor scarce states like Himachal Pradesh. So, people are going from Bihar to Himachal Pradesh to work on NREGA. Whereas in Bihar, Odisha, Uttar Pradesh, etc., you find that the number of jobs created is very, very low.
But why? Why is this?
This is because of two factors. Number one, these states, poorer states, do not have banking structure. And Government of India insists that you have to give salaries and wages only through the banks. And number two, the state's capacity to absorb funds, to start new works and to monitor and measure is very limited. Also, in southern states, what is happening is, even when the payment is delayed, husband is working somewhere else. Wife says, okay, I am going to work on Narega, and payment is delayed, I can wait. So, therefore, in southern states you find that of the total workers, more than 50% are women. In northern states, in Bihar or UP, when men go for work and they find they cannot be paid, they cannot wait, they are too poor. So, it is extreme poverty of these states which itself deters them from coming to Narega works, because Narega,
they have to then find something else.
They have to find something else. So, it is the weak supply which also results in a weak demand.
So, you are saying that, so isn't this, wouldn't you characterize this as a perverse outcome, that states which are better off are generating more Narega employment?
Yeah, that's right. In fact, someone wrote that middle class are doing work in Narega, because the number of poor in these states is limited and the number of people who work is very high. I will give you some data on this. Compare UP with Tamil Nadu. In UP, the number of poor people, poor households, is 8 times the number of poor in Tamil Nadu, because poverty is higher and also the population is also very high.
When you say poor, you mean?
Total number of poor as defined by Government of India, it is 8 times the number of poor in Tamil Nadu. When you look at expenditure on Narega, in Tamil Nadu, it is 4 times that is in Uttar Pradesh.
So that's a perverse outcome.
That's a perverse outcome. Poverty being 1/8 and expenditure being 4 times. UP spends 1,000 crores, Tamil Nadu spends 4,000 crores.
So, sir, then this whole thing boils down to really governance in each state. The states where governance is poor and their ability to deliver some of these schemes is very poor, these schemes will not work. So, really center has really no control over this,
No,
right?
center certainly has a control. Center should do 2 things. Number one, it should start measuring outcomes rigorously. And
Which has not happened so far.
Which is not happening regularly. I will give you some examples on that. And number two, it should link devolution with performance. In fact, before the 13th Finance Commission, I had requested them that please start linking devolution with performance. For the first time, they said, okay, if those states which do well on reduction of infant mortality rate or which improve forest cover, we will give more money. 14th Finance Commission, I am sure, will be much more, which will take more steps and link devolution with performance. It has been seen that when you put some conditionalities on devolution, states become very alert. Conditionalities have been put on revenue expenditure being controlled by the states, you find that they have done so. Conditionalities have been put that you must transfer money to the panchayats, they have done so. So,
But
therefore,
there's
conditionalities are very important.
I know, but there's one risk here. If you link transfer of money to performance, then some of the better performing states may end up getting more money, which will lead to again a perverse outcome.
That will not happen because of 2 reasons. First of all the 3.5 lakh crores only should be about, to begin with, 50,000 crores should be linked with performance. Secondly, in the Planning Commission today, there is a division of states in 3 categories. There are states where like the Northeast, Himachal Pradesh, etc., which are the special category states. There are states like UP and Bihar, etc., which are in one category, and Tamil Nadu, Kerala are in another category. So, what I am saying is, let Meghalaya compete with Arunachal Pradesh, let UP compete with Bihar, let Tamil Nadu compete with Andhra Pradesh, and we are not asking Kerala to compete with Bihar. That is not, that we are not saying. The other thing is about measuring outcomes. When the National Family Health Survey report came out in 2007, it was found out that there was no reduction in the number of malnourished children. Now, one would have expected that this report, which comes after 8 years, Government of India will say we will bring it in after every 4 years, after every 2 years. The reverse happened. Government of India got so scared, they said, no, we will not do any more survey. because we have to face criticism. So that is what is happening. We need to measure our outcomes and then hold states accountable.
Thank you very much, Mr. N C Saxena, for talking to us. That's all we have in this edition of State of the Economy. We'll be back with you next week. Thanks for watching.